Nature also gives you the economic importance of the trees. We are talking of job and wealth creation.
Imagine a station where you access information. Think of a station that creates awareness for national development. Imagine a station that prepares you for a bright and greater future. A station for all ages. Documentaries, classroom and television, events coverage, children's programs and variety shows. Always stay tuned to NTA Knowledge on the StarTimes platform, channel 359. For partnership, sponsorship and advert placements, contact us on NTA Knowledge. NTA Knowledge, learning to broaden horizon.
Slavery is an evil practice abolished all over the world over 200 years ago. But today, human traffickers are selling.
The tenure of our party executives can be legally faulted, then it means that any nominations and primary elections that they may conduct can also be faulted.
New elongation for national and state executive officers unconstitutional, President Buhari tells APC leaders.
PDP apology to Nigerians. APC chides opposition party seeks return of looted funds.
Senate denies social media allegation of taking bribes to pass MDA's budgets.
It is unfortunate that many of us are being dragged into this unfortunate situation. This issue must be thoroughly investigated.
On Good Morning Nigeria today, we focus on matters arising from the NEC meeting of the APC, plus an examination of the statement by General T.Y. Danjuma on the Nigerian Armed Forces and conflicts in the country.
The governing All Progressives Congress held its 5th National Executive Council meeting, with the last two coming a month apart.
That's right, Cliff. Now, the National Executive Committee meeting of the APC was reconvened after the February 27th meeting couldn't take a final decision, as it were, on two key issues. And those issues were the party's constitutional amendment, plus the report submitted to the party by the El Rufai Committee on Restructuring. Now, a major decision taken at the last meeting of the NEC was, however, faulted yesterday by President Muhammadu Buhari, and that, of course, has made more headlines than the other issues decided upon by the NEC of the party.
Yes, Kingsley, the President's description of the decision to extend the tenure of the National Working Committee members and stays executive of the party as unconstitutional overshadowed every other decision and is likely to change a lot of things in the party, including ending the court action taken by those aggrieved by the first decision.
Now, President Muhammadu Buhari implored all members of the party to give the Asiwaju committee full cooperation to try to resolve differences existing amongst members in the various states affected. Now, he also said that it was inevitable that there would be differences of opinion within the party, which, according to him, is the hallmark of a genuinely democratic party.
Well, Kingsley, we will be having APC stalwarts shortly to talk more on the NEC meeting before proceeding to examine the statement by the General Theophilus Yakubu Danjuma on Nigerian armed forces.
Indeed, Cliff, now the country was still basking in the euphoria of the release of the abducted Dapchi schoolgirls when a highly regarded Nigerian statesman, that's General Tiwa Danjuma, former Chief of Army Staff, also a former Minister of Defense, jolted the nation at a speech, during the course of a speech he made, rather, at Taraba State University.
Well, yes, Kingsley, that statement by General Danjuma asking Nigerians to take laws into their hands over the allegations that the military, which he had the privilege of leading, is colluding with killer gunmen, was not only shocking, but also not expected of a citizen of his caliber.
Well, as to be expected, reactions have continued to trail the remarks by General Tiwa Danjuma, and those reactions have come from several quarters, including the Ministry of Defense, now the military itself, and others who are directly involved in terms of the allegations of the former Chief of Army Staff.
And just when the president was working to calm firmed nerves and perfecting strategies to end the recent spurt of attacks in some states by visiting and holding town hall meetings with community, opinion, religious, and political leaders, Danjuma's statement, many say, was unbecoming of a statesman.
All right, now, some of the questions that have already been asked would be, why, for instance, did General T.Y. Danjuma choose the platform he opted for in making a kind of statement that was credited to him? The question has also been asked whether or not he has or doesn't have the ears of the president or his military constituency to channel his observations. And further questions, of course, to be asked will be, what are the likely knock-on consequences of the statement attributed to General T.Y. Danjuma, and what, of course, could be done to forestall whatever negative reactions there might be if, for instance, persons were to resort to self-help, which was a prescription of the general.
Well, these are some of the questions our guests shall try to provide answers to on Good Morning Nigeria today. I am Cliff Ayoze, welcoming you to the program, reaching you live from the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I also join Cliff, my colleague, in welcoming you to the program, in the course of which we shall have our regular companion segments. And this, of course, will include newspaper review, business, sports, and others. By the way, Cliff, I'm sure you watched the Nigerian friendly against Serbia last night. Well,
it will give them more room to prepare as they lost by 0-2.
That's right. It was unfortunate. It was, there are a number of issues, of course, arising from the cohesion in the team. There were other friendlies that we also played.
Yeah, Argentina, did you watch the...
of course, Spain spanked Argentina 6-1.
Even Brazil against Germany.
That's right.
The
Germans lost 1-0, although they fought to an right to the end. They couldn't cancel that or at least secure a draw.
But very exciting matches, one would say.
Absolutely. England and Italy won apiece. All right, now those are the issues, of course, we shall be taking a look at the course of the program. We hope our sports crew will be ready and we also have time to have that. In the meantime, let's go over to our colleague to give us the money news.
That's been today for you. Yes. You're welcome.
Good morning, Kingsley and Cliff. Here's the news. President Muhammadu Buhari has formally broken his silence on the contentious issue of tenure elongation for national and state executive officers of the party, saying the plan is not only unconstitutional but capable of putting the governing APC at a grave risk. The president, who stated this while addressing the National Executive Committee of the APC, insists that dictates of the party and the national constitutions must be strictly followed.
It is important for me to speak quickly on the contentious issue of the tenure of our national and state executive officers. I have taken some time to review and seek advice on the resolution. And what I found is that it contravenes both our party constitution and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
The National Executive Council of the All Progressives Congress, APC, has agreed to set up a technical committee to advise the party on how to address lingering issues of tenure extension that was raised during its meeting a month ago. This was among other critical issues of importance that dominated discussion at the National Executive Council meeting held in Abuja.
So members of NEC thank the President for the graciousness of saying, look, even despite he has held a position, that's still saying that he wanted an input of the members of NEC. The NEC decided to set up a small team to advise the party on the way forward on this matter. At the moment, there is no decision taken, so the position of NEC still stands.
Meanwhile, the federal government has asked the People's Democratic Party, PDP, to go to whole hog with its apology to Nigerians by returning all the funds looted from the public treasury under its watch during its 16 years in power. In a statement issued in Abuja, the Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, equally challenged the party to show the genuineness of its apology through a discernible change of attitude. The minister said PDP presided over an unprecedented looting of the public treasury, perhaps the worst of its kind in Nigeria and anywhere else in the world. Therefore, the best evidence of penitence for such a party, he stressed, is not just to own up and apologize, but to also return the looted funds, as anything short of that is mere deceit. Lai Mohammed added that even with the paucity of funds, the present administration has spent an unprecedented amount of money on infrastructural development and social investment program, among others. Therefore, returning the looted funds will provide more money for these programs and make life more meaningful for Nigerians. He also advised the party to play responsible opposition politics and put Nigeria's interests over and above partisan interest. And from the Senate plenary comes a report that the Senate has reacted strongly to allegations on the social media and national dailies that legislators have received bribes to pass budgets of ministries, departments, and agencies. This followed a point of order raised by Senator Peter Nwoboshi, representing Delta North.
And I know that many of you did not collect that money. This issue must be thoroughly investigated.
This matter impinges on the integrity of entire, and it's this Senate for the last 2.5 years since we started. We've never had this kind of report. This matter is referred to ethics and privileges and ensure that within a week you fully investigate this matter and bring concise, accurate report for us to consider. Let us hold our comments until the end of the investigation.
Now, the Senate Joint Committee on Drugs and Narcotics and Health has emphasized the need to strengthen the capacity of agencies charged with the responsibility of enforcing relevant laws that will check the abuse of drugs to enable them discharge their responsibility. This was at a public hearing on the need to check the rising menace of pharmaceutical drug abuse among youth in Nigeria.
To tighten the loose ends on this issue, to ensure controls, and also to make sure that victims get help and are rehabilitated.
The Joint Committee is determined on behalf of the Senate and in concert with all stakeholders to address this issue of abuse of pharmaceutical drugs among the youth.
Now, former INEC chairman Professor Attahiru Jiga has warned Nigerians against acts and conduct that may endanger the integrity of the 2019 general elections. He was speaking at the 2018 Founders Day lecture of the Nigeria Institute of Advanced Legal Studies.
Been a major challenge for us in this country is that we have allowed our institutions to be very, very weak and to lack the capacity to protect and defend the integrity of the mandates that they are supposed to execute.
And that's the news for now. Good morning, Nigeria. We'll continue in a short while after this short break with Cliff and Kingsley. Thank you for watching.
Unemployment, notably youth unemployment. features strongly in our party's manifesto. We intend to attack the problem frontally through revival of agriculture.
The 30K is going a long way. Actually, I bought an acre of land for 60K like 2012, and presently I have a cassava farm and a yam farm.
Dettol team is visiting schools to teach children how to protect themselves from diseases. Do you know how we get illnesses like diarrhea, cough, and cold? No! They are spread through germs, which are everywhere. You collect germs that cause diseases. You pick up germs from any surface, like when you don't wash your hands after going to the toilet, while playing. And then you can get sick because of germs. That's why you need to fight germs to stay healthy by washing your hands and taking your bath with Dettol soap to protect from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Wash, wash, wash your hands. What you have to do is bath, bath, bath yourself. Dettol soap every day. Wash, wash, wash your hands.
Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1, a delicious combination of rich cocoa and wholesome goodness of milk. Just add hot water to get an instant chocolatey treat that delights your senses. Cadbury Hot Chocolate 3-in-1. Just add hot water.
Reorganized, trained, and fully equipped. We are the new improved Nigeria Police Force. We fight crime. We bust syndicates. Whatever the crime, wherever the hideout, the Nigeria Police Force will get you busted. Stop kidnapping, armed robbery, murder, pipeline vandalism, and other criminal activities. Be productive. Be security conscious. Join the police force to secure your life and property. This message is from the Nigeria Police Force Public Relations Department.
All right, you're welcome back. But if you just joined us, it's Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Now it's time for us to talk business, and our correspondent, Comfort Amodu, has stories on the deadlock meeting of the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee. Plus, CBN injects additional dollars into the forex market.
Welcome to Business News. I'm Comfort Amodu. The Federation Account Allocation Committee FAC failed Tuesday to conclude on the monthly meeting scheduled to distribute revenue in the month of February. The meeting, which was chaired by the Accountant General of the Federation, Ahmed Idris, saw the rejection of figures presented by the NMPC.
In finance and accounting, when you hear of reconciliation, it means figures do not tally as presented by different sections.
We believe that the figures are supposed to be much more than what is limited to Federation account for sharing to the 3 tiers of government.
Reconciliation began Tuesday night. The Central Bank of Nigeria Tuesday injected $210 million into the foreign exchange market. Figures obtained from the Apex Bank indicates that the wholesale sector of the market got a boost of $100 million, while the small and medium enterprises and invincible sectors each got $55 million. Acting Director Corporate Communications Department of the bank, Isaac Okorafor, said the interventions were in continuation of the bank's commitment to maintain stability in the market as well as enhance production and trade. He also expressed optimism that the first Monetary Policy Committee meeting of the CBN scheduled to hold next week will spur monetary policy activities of the bank. The Naira exchange at 360 to the dollar at the interbank sector. Nigeria is losing millions of dollars annually for her inability to provide weather information service for ships navigating its territorial waters. In view of this, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency is to partner the Ministry of Transport towards enhancing the potentials of weather information service for more revenue generation. More than 12,000 ships navigate on the Nigerian water banks annually. And equities on the Nigerian Stock Exchange continue on a downward trend Tuesday as the market fell 0.51% to close 41,243.24 basis points, while market capitalization stands at 14.8 trillion naira. Nestle, GlaxoSmith, and FO led the gainers table. Seplat Mobile and Total top losers chart. That's it on Business News. Good Morning Nigeria continues.
Special thanks to Comfort there, but we also like to inform you that the Minister of Finance is reconvening the FAC meeting this morning to iron out the issues on ground. Now it's time for newspaper review on Good Morning Nigeria in a moment.
Our newspaper reviewer, Bayo Atoyebe, with us in the studios this morning for the review session. Bayo, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning, Cliff.
Bayo, it's nice to have you.
Thank you.
That's
Good
right.
morning, Nigeria.
How was last night?
Very restful.
Did you watch?
He's very calm.
Don't worry about the 2-0 defeat. Argentina suffered worse defeat. And don't forget that when you play a pre-World Cup match, players hardly give up to 60% because everybody wants to be at the big stage. They don't want to injure themselves and they're not missing.
Yeah, is that of experience or something?
Yes.
You know what? That is fine, but I think it's less so because there were tactical or technical issues with that team. It's less of self-preservation than the fact that...
That is the essence of the friendly matches, so that the coaches can dot the I's and cross the T's.
All right, let's move on now. We're starting off with the authority. On the front page of the authority this morning, we have tenure in logation, why Buhari dumped Odegi Oyego. Orders APC to hold elective Congress in June. NEC decision still stands. Party action saves APC from legal turmoil. Tinubu. And we also have election sequence. Senate revisits Electoral Act Amendment Bill. With details of that report on page 2. And at the lower part of the authority this morning, we have FARC. No money to share as NNPC fails to remit funds, with details on page 3. And we have herdsmen killings, Sharia Council attacks Danjuma as Christian clerics slam Buhari, with details on page 2. And INEC suspends 205 officials over 2015 election sharp practices, with details on page 5 of the authority this morning. On top of the nameplate of the authority, we have DSS boss Basalobi kidnaps gang, arrests 10 top leaders. Details is on page 4 of the authority. And we have FG Labour begin minimum wage negotiation, with details of it on page 6. And we also have, we won't pass 2018 budget without finance bill, National Assembly, with details on page 2. And also we have the same headline on The Guardian. On The Guardian this morning, we have Odegi Onyegu's tenure extension can't stand, says President Buhari. And we also have some riders there. APC raises panel to consider reversal. Okorocha, Tinubu, others held decision. It reflects chaos in party government, says PDP, and Saraki Dogara absent from NEC meeting. That's what The Guardian is saying this morning. We'll look at other issues, Kingsley.
Well, the story on the APC NEC meeting is the lead for both the Daily Sun and the Daily Independent. For the Daily Sun, it comes with a kicker as APC NEC meets no to Oyegun's tenure extension, and that's according to President Buhari, with a rider party raises panel to decide way forward amid reactions. For the Daily Independent newspaper, says why Buhari dumped Oyegun and rejected the National Working Committee tenure extension with two riders. That's the Daily Independent now. It says his stand hasn't changed APC NEC's position, and this is attributed to the party. That's to say President Buhari's stand hasn't changed APC NEC's position. And another one says Oyegun's loyalists jittery and worried over party's structures. Now, they have a lot of political stories on the front pages of the papers this morning. There are other stories well inside. There are matters arising from those ones. For instance, still on the front page of Daily Sun, just below the nameplate of the Daily Independent now, not Daily Sun, it says Atiku Abubakar declares presidential ambition in Port Harcourt. That's on page 4. And then coming straight down again, just beside the photograph there, says 2019, INEC registers 7 million new voters. And of course, the suspension of officers is also there. And the second list story on the front page of the Daily Independent is Governor Yahaya Bello can truncate Nigeria's democracy. That's attributed to the Senate. And Senate to probe alleged police harassment of Melaye, and reps berate federal government over alleged collapse of security architecture. That story is on page 5. As I indicated, there are other political stories. An earpiece beside the nameplate of Daily Sun. Poll sequence. Senate probes bribery allegation and begins fresh Electoral Act amendment process. This is the Daily Sun newspaper. Article story is also there, and the FAC meeting, which is deadlocked, as states reject NNPC 74 billion naira February revenue. Federal government reintroduces history in school curriculum, page 11. Flooding. Federal government new map issue early warning in 10 states. That's on page 40.
Yeah, I think we'd like to bring in Bayo now.
Yes, I think we need to take the flood warning seriously. Much as we expect rain, and rain brings good prospects for agricultural enterprise, we need also to be very careful, because when these early warnings come, it means that our people have to prepare, particularly the states that have been identified to be flood-prone areas. But talking about the political issues that we read, President Muhammadu Buhari, while addressing the National Working Committee, advised that all aspirants within the party should resign and recontest in line with the APC constitution. This was a negation to the tenure extension given temporarily by the National Executive Council of the party. The president says it was in a violation of the Section 17 of the APC constitution, as well as Section 13 of that party constitution. Also, it violates Section 223 of the Federal Republic of Nigeria's constitution. And therefore, he had advised that all the APC should get themselves ready and consider to contest by the convention that is coming up in June. Also, by Monday evening, the APC set up a 50-member Elders Council Committee, and this is to be approved instead of what will replace the Board of Trustees. The modalities for selection is to be worked out by the party. Meanwhile, the Independent National Electoral Commission says it is ready for 2019 elections. And in doing an overview of its activities, the chairman for INEC has revealed that between 2015 and now, they have had 680 cases going to court about various challenges. And that gives you an average of about 226 cases per year, looking from the time of the election to now 3 years ago. And he said this year alone, January 16 to January 2017, they had 200 cases in court. But he says that the INEC has benefited from criticism from the public, and they have also tried to clean the audience table, so to say. 205 officers who were found and interdicted have been made to face disciplinary actions. In the same vein, INEC conducted 179 off-season elections. It attests to the fact that it is ready and its activities about the...
and also gave the information that newly registered voters hit 7 million.
Yes,
nationwide.
7 million population, and it will surprise you that they gave a list of where there were massive turnouts of voters to take advantage of the continuous voters registration. They include the Rivers, Niger, Kaduna, Anambra, Borno, Delta, Enugu, Plateau, and Cross River.
Let's run now because we're getting signals. Let's look at other developments. The FAC meeting that could not reach a decision. And of course, Budo, they're reconvening this morning. And of course, the bribery scandal affecting the National Assembly as it relates to the budget and the election sequence.
Well, the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee could not distribute the allocations they were because the state disagreed with the amount of about 74 billion that the NNPC was supposed to turn in. They expect that there should be more to that. But the good thing is that the Minister of Finance has given an indication that there will be a reconvening of the Federation Accounts Allocation Committee, and maybe they will sort this out. Talking about allegation, well, it is a bribe allegation. There are two of them, in fact, coming up. There's one that is alleging that $50,000 has been given to every senator and $20,000 to every member House of Representatives to pass what is called to reject the sequence election bill. There's another one coming up alleging that ministries, departments, and agencies have sent lots of money to the National Assembly to have the budget 2018 passed. So again, it's part of the speculations. When the investigations come to mainstream, the facts will be presented there, and I'm sure the committees of the National Assembly, especially those for ethics and privileges, is looking into that.
Okay, before Kingsley comes with the other issues there, look at the Guardian will have this story, how U.S. shortchanges, swindles Nigerians in visa application fees. That's on the Guardian this morning, with the writer, makes 19 billion naira in 1 year. Excess gain hits 4.5 billion naira. And of course, officials says consulate uses market-based exchange rate, because there's even the news making the rounds that there's likely to be an increase from next month.
In visa charges?
In visa
charges. Those are consular charges that is within the precinct of the High Commission to determine. And I don't think it's subject to cross-national debate. But the matter of concern that I think I need to draw attention to is the fire that raged at internally displaced persons camp in Ran. Ran, unfortunately, has been at the receiving end for quite a long time. 5 women and 2 children died in that fire, and over 200 huts were burned. 20 persons suffered serious injury. You will recall that it was the same Rand that 8 workers, 3 of them were killed recently. And also, the Nigerian Air Force mistakenly bombed 211 persons in that round.
Yeah, so what is it about Rand?
Yes.
What is it about Rand? I think that the authorities need to look into the place and then see how they can stave that off. But as I said, there are other stories inside the papers, but just before we take the editorial of the Punch newspaper, if you were to go to page 41 of the Daily Sun, there is a story there. You can't see that on the screen right now. It says LUC amendment. That's the Land Use Charge Amendment. NBA and other stakeholders walk out on Lagos Assembly, and others demand reversal of new law. And by the way, tomorrow is a public holiday in Lagos.
Yes.
So from tomorrow until Monday, the Lagos will be in a holiday mood when they will resume work on Tuesday
next week. The holiday is
in
expectation of the president's visit to Lagos. Yeah. Lagos people are enjoying the bonus of holidays.
Right. Page 20, that's where the editorial of the Punch is. Getting tax reform strategy right. That's the editorial of the Punch newspaper. But it says the government should pursue tax reforms with uncommon commitment and ruthlessness. And that if it could rake in 23 billion naira from VADES, that the pickings from resolute enforcement of tax laws and the proposed special cuts will be rich indeed.
Well, before we talk about the tax, there's another headline that you read where it says that Sharia Council is condemning General T.Y. Danjuma for his pronouncement, while the Christian cleric are also slamming Buhari on the other part. The worry here is that we have a challenge of killings. Whether it's a herdsman or whether it is farmers, it is a matter of threat to Nigerians that has to be taken seriously. But this development is showing that we are adding some religious dimensions to it, which is very dangerous and rather very unfortunate. However, talking about the issue of editorial about the taxes, the pointer here is that the tax ratio percentage for Nigeria is about 6.1% according to that editorial. And they are challenging that if Nigeria has to lead to its bidding as the biggest economy on the continent of Africa, then it has to meet up with that of South Africa, which is about 26.9%, and that of Egypt, which is about 15.8%.
Yes, Nigeria's tax to GDP is quite low. And we're getting signal, that's where we'll just cap it up on newspaper review this morning. Bayo Atoyobi, would like to say special thanks to you for always making our time to be here.
Thank you very much for having me, as always.
This is Good Morning Nigeria. We'll be back to look at our two-pronged issues this morning in a moment.
Sore throats, it's often caused by bacteria and viruses. Feels like they're having a party. You need Strepsils. It soothes the pain, plus it fights the germs with 2 germ-killing actives. Double power in 1 lozenge. Bye-bye sore throat. Take Strepsils.
What makes a Naija mom powerful?
I encourage my kids to learn new things, and if they get hurt, I rely on the power of my Dettol's 1 capsule to fight germs.
My family needs protection from germs. I use the power of Dettol's 1 capsule to disinfect surfaces and clothes.
I trust the power of Dettol's 1 capsule for bathing. The power of Dettol's 1 capsule protects from up to 100 illness-causing germs.
Be a powerful Naija mom with Dettol.
Hear the call of change. Stand up, Nigeria. Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. Go to so let the change begin from within. Look at you, oh Gerula. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
You get to visit them, madam.
Hello, good day, madam. Thank you.
Do I know you?
Maybe not, but I do know you very well, madam. Well, you are Chief Mrs. Harrison, and you're the owner of Capable Supermarket. But from what I see here, you didn't register it with your business name. I haven't even mentioned the properties which you inherited from your late parents' estate, of which you still collect rents through a caretaker.
You can't prove that.
I am from the tax authority. We are now more equipped with accurate information.
Am I in any kind of trouble?
Not if you take advantage of VADE.
VADE?
There is no hiding of assets and income in order to evade taxes anymore. Do the right thing. Declare your assets and income and regularize your tax status with VADES before 31st March 2018 to avoid penalties and prosecution. VADES, I declare my duty, my nation.
All right, as we indicated, we have 2 topics for discussion this morning. One is the matters arising from the National Executive Committee meeting of the Governing All Progressives Congress. Now, to set the stage for that conversation, let's join our correspondent, Aisha Obale, who has a background now.
This year, the All Progressive Congress Party, APC, has held its National Executive Council meeting twice. Such meeting is to allow stalwarts of the party to rub minds in trashing out burning issues affecting the party and the polity. The fallout of the NEC meeting last month necessitated the reconvening of yesterday's NEC to trash out standing issues, which include taking position on the Constitution Amendment and the El-Rufai Committee on True Federalism. The party at last month's meeting announced the elongation of tenure of the National Working Committee, which did not go down well, some who promptly took the matter to the courts. The aggrieved members cited APC Constitution Article 17, limiting the tenure of elected officers to 4 years, renewable once by another election, Also, the 1999 Constitution of Nigeria, as amended in Section 23, prescribes periodic election for party executives at regular intervals, which must not exceed 4 years. These differences are coming on the heels of already compounded crisis in some states, which made President Muhammadu Buhari to appoint the party's respected and highly influential leader, Ahmed Bola Tinubu, to reconcile aggrieved and weary members across the country. The president's statement at the NEC meeting describing the extension of tenure as not in accordance with the party's constitution has changed a lot of things, and political watchers are waiting to see how this will play out. How would the party address some of these crises? What were the resolutions at the end of the meeting? Is the Bola Ahmed Tinubu-led Reconciliation Committee making any headway? These questions and more will be answered shortly on the program.
All right, now we have two guests with us on the studios to discuss the issue in greater detail. First, we'd like to welcome the Publicity Secretary of the party, that's the National Publicity Secretary of the party, Malam Bolaji Abdullahi. Malam Bolaji, pleasure to have you on Good Morning.
Thank you very much, my pleasure.
Thank you.
And also we have another personality, Architect Waziri Bolama. It's good to have you. He's also a member of All Progressives Congress. It's a pleasure to have you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Well, we start this conversation with the National Publicity Secretary of APC. We know that the APC have been aligning and realigning in order to strengthen the parties going forward. But we have 2 NEC meetings in 1 month. Yes. How would you explain that?
Well, I mean, thank you very much. We've not been having as many meetings as we should have. I mean, the business of political parties is to hold meetings. In the past, we've not been having meetings. Now, we are having meetings rather more regularly, which is good for our party. Sometimes, like in this situation, we had some unfinished business from the previous NEC meeting in February. And because those matters were recommended for a revisit, so we had to have another meeting very quickly to follow up. And that's why we have such meetings rather in quick succession. And we're going to have many more.
All right, now, but the big news out of the 2 meetings that you've had, the one in February and the one of yesterday, which is March, had to do with the tenure of the incumbent National Working Committee.
Thank you.
The President's advisory or the President's statement or remarks at the NEC meeting yesterday appears, to have stolen all the headlines, as you can see in the papers this morning. Tell us exactly what the decisions were at the NEC meeting, because we expect, of course, there were other matters that were considered.
Well, I mean, the issue of the tenure of the executives of the party was not even on the agenda yesterday. The meeting yesterday was convened to deal with 2 issues that were not resolved from the previous meeting in February. One, the issue of amendment to the constitution of the party, which has nothing to do with the issue of tenure, is an exercise that started early last year, and the committee finished its work and submitted its report. Now it will require NEC to approve or to adopt the amendments before we can take it to the convention. But because members requested for more time to study it being a constitution, then NEC agreed to hold another meeting, which was held yesterday, to adopt the draft, the amended constitution. That was the one item. The second item was the issue of the report of the True Federalism Committee. Similarly, members requested for time to study it. So those were the 2 issues on the agenda yesterday. But the President, in his opening remarks, used the opportunity to make his position clear on the issue of tenure of executives, and that ended up, of course, that's more sexy than the...
well, no, just before we bring in Architect Bulama, let's get all of this. If an item is not on an agenda, it doesn't mean, that's according to the rules of meetings, that excuse me, the matter cannot be considered as A or B. Yes. Can we therefore have a sense of the resolutions that we arrived at the NEC meeting? Did the resolutions include the President's advisory?
Yes. the president raised this issue while giving his opening remarks, and that's why you could see the media was still there. Because normally, after the initial ceremonies, the media will be asked to excuse the meeting, then the business will start. But it was part of the opening events of the meeting. The president was giving his opening remarks, and the media was still there, and he said it. Now, after the media had excused us, wanted to start the conversation, then the chairman, of course, naturally said, no, this issue is not on the agenda. Let us wait until the AOB. Then, of course, when we got to the AOB, the matter was duly discussed, and members took a decision that a technical team should be set up, a small technical team should be set up, or a small team should be set up to look at the next decision against the backdrop of the president's admonition.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bolaji. Now we go to Architect Bulama. Looking at developments in the All Progressives Congress, there have been divergent opinions on these developments. The president's advised that the tenure elongation is not constitutional, with regards to the APC constitution. And other issues, people point to, do we have a housing crisis from the developments you're seeing? Taking a decision and, trying to reverse that within 30 days or so.
No, thank you. Actually, there isn't a crisis as such. You see, the APC is like 5 years old. The president executive has run the party for like four years, getting to the end of its tenure. And for a party that came as a result of the merger, where leaders sacrificed their own previous identities, their parties, their status, positions, interests, and all that, and fused into the APC. I think basically also to deepen democracy and to politically stabilize the country, I think the APC has done very well. We cannot talk of any crisis per se that is threatening the stability of the party, no any setback to the party as such. Clearly, of course, there are tendencies within the party and interests within the party. Now, as the tenure of the present executive is coming to an end, and looking forward to the impending election next year, there are interests and persons who want to be part of the structure of the party and who want to influence decisions that would precede the 2019 elections and other things beyond the elections. So these are the, of course, tendencies that led to the decisions that eventually made the NEC to take that decision to give the president, in good faith, the president executive of the party, an extension so as to enhance stability of the party before the next election. But clearly, of course, the party, as the National Public Secretary said, always meets and consults. It's always, there are pressures everywhere. So after taking that decisions, tensions came up, and which led to the president's statesmanly intervention yesterday, or submission yesterday.
Bulama, in your opinion, yes, given that the convention is projected to hold maybe in June,
yes,
and we are already, March is ended already, do you see us, moving through this very process without any challenges, to the convention, having congresses at the world and elevating it to the local government, state, and to the national?
Yes, you see, in politics, time is everything. The leaders would, and all stakeholders would just intensify, consultations. They'll reach out to one another and discuss the contending issues. And I think this time between now and the National Convention is not, I mean, is sufficient for the party to sort this out. You see, the party is a product of an inclusive, participatory agenda. You see, when the party was formed in 2013, you know, all the parties that were in the merger, all the interests were captured in the executive of the party at all structures, at all levels of party structure. So this time around, consultations will go on, and all contending parties and interests with their histories will all be accommodated, and then we'll go for the convention seamlessly and come up with an acceptable leadership that would lead the party to the elections.
Okay, all right, Akide Bulama, thank you very much. Let's bring in again Malam Bolaji. Let's have a sense of the timelines that we're looking at here. When exactly is the tenure of the various executives of the party at national and state levels, you know, supposed to expire? That's one. Two, you talked earlier about the decision arrived at the NEC meeting yesterday, that namely a technical committee will be set up to advise the NEC and indeed the party with regard to the opinion expressed by Mr. President. When is that committee supposed to get into full gear, and when are you expecting it to submit its report?
Well, I mean, the first question about the tenure of executives of the party, not only at the national level, but also at the state levels, generally ends in June. But let me say that we keep using this expression. I mean, you are actually the first person that has not used that expression. I mean, and I'm glad you didn't. Tenure elongation. That's an inexact phrase to explain what has happened. The tenure of the executives will end in June. Now, the position of NEC is that if we go into congresses from the ward to the state levels, the inevitable rancor that always attends that kind of exercise will be difficult for us to manage going into next year's election. Therefore, the best way, it was a strategic move to minimize this rancor, is to allow the incumbents to continue in acting capacity after June, to enable, to give the party the opportunity to avoid the rancor that will attend these congresses. Then after election, we can now call a proper elective congress to allow people to now seek elective position at the party levels across the country. So it's not so much about, but what you see happening, what you see unfolding at this moment, is politics, like Akide Bulama has said. It's not so much of law, but more of politics. You know, but we'll come back to that. You know, so what APC is trying to do at this moment, whether in view of the president's position or in view of the next position, is that we are now faced with a situation where we'll have to make a choice between two imperfect options and ask ourselves which is in the best interest of the party. So it's not crisis as it were. We're going to resolve it. You know.
Yeah, but I asked the question about the technical committee.
Yes, the technical committee, we started working yesterday, actually, as a matter of fact. And it's not something that we call it technical committee. That's a grand name for a very simple assignment. You know.
It ain't so simple as you said. I mean, if you are faced with imperfect choices, it ain't so simple. But I'm just wondering, Akide Bulama, part of the point that Malam Bolaji has raised, ultimately, you know, there will be recourse to the constitution of the party.
Yes.
And is there any tension with regard to members or the organs of the party being obedient to the very constitution of the party itself? Because that's what the president was happy on.
Yes. The issue about the tenure of leaders of the party under the constitution is very clear and explicit. And which in fact the president reminded the party leaders that any decision, including that NEC decision of February 27, should align itself with the provision of the Constitution, both of the party as well as the 1999 Constitution as amended. And there is no ambiguity actually about that. And party members would discuss among themselves, intensify meetings, exchange of ideas, and come up with decisions that will comply with the constitution of the party with regards to the tenure. So I don't think there's any...
Thank you, Bulama.
Yes.
Let me come back to Bolaji here. We know what politics is all about. Politics involves all the processes, towards getting into power, taking decisions to consolidate on power, not to take decision on who gets what, when and how in the allocation of scarce resources, or who will not get what, in fact. And when you talk about this, it involves building structures in order to produce those that will protect your interests somewhere along the line in politics. And building structures involves a lot of altercations and alignment and realignment. Now, the president's other call for support of the Tinubu committee is another leg. How do you think this will play out? How will the Tinubu committee get the cooperation of the party hierarchy along the line?
Well, there's no tension between, there is no conflict or tension between
because
the...
you know Tinubu at a point raised the issue that it was not getting the right cooperation. That's why.
No, I think we've gone past that. Ashwaju raised the issue he raised at that time based on the information available to him, and I think everyone is clearer now about what actually happened. One thing that is certain is that the party executive has continued to assure Ashwaju, who is our leader, that will be willing and we are ready to work with him because it's in the interest of all of us that wherever there are issues, these issues are resolved. But I'm glad you brought up the issue of Ashwaju's conflict resolution assignment. You see, the significant thing for us is that asking Ashwaju to go into the states to resolve issues where they exist between members is fundamentally an acknowledgement that there are those issues. And it is against that realization that the NEC took the decision that it took. That if you have an open wound that is bleeding, the first common sense thing to do is to at least arrest the bleeding before you now begin to, you don't continue to do things that will continue to aggravate or irritate the wounds and hope that you will heal. But sometimes what is legally correct may be politically foolish, and vice versa. And that's why I say we have a choice between two imperfect options. But the position of Mr. President is very clear. Whatever you do, let us ensure that we are not violating our own constitution or the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That is very clear. And there's no contradiction between what Mr. President is saying and the position that is adopted by NEC, only in the details. Now, the interpretation that was given to the President was that the decision of NEC in February contravenes the Constitution of the party and the Constitution of the Federation. That's one interpretation, and that is why laws are made in such a way. That's why we have lawyers, because there were no absolute interpretation of any legal provision. And that's why you have the same lawyers who went to the same school will come and give you different interpretation of the same provisions of the law. Now, there were other lawyers present at the NEC meeting yesterday who were saying, no, Mr. President, this interpretation you've been given is not very correct in the context of the decision that we have been taking. So, but that's why I said this is not about law, because if you are looking for laws to justify anything, you'll find laws to justify or to disqualify anything. The significant thing is that it's politics we are playing, right? And Architect Bulama rightly pointed it out. Yes, self-preservation at the party level, but also self-preservation at the political individual level.
Yeah.
You know, so but it is normal. That is politics.
Because
so
when a side is aggrieved, they could challenge those decisions you are taking to strengthen
exactly.
the party or preserve the party.
Exactly.
I'm wondering, my question is, you know, on the Asiwaju reconciliation, or as Bolaji has said, conflict resolution. That's probably more aggravated in terms of the tensions in the parties. But let's say, you know, the reconciliation committee meeting that has been holding. How can all of this now be situated in the context of what is playing out? Because out there have been, you know, allegations in terms of reports of tensions among some of the national leaders of the party. That's on the one hand, and then the issue of saying, look, grant all executives at all levels an acting capacity beyond June of this year, and then you having the Simbri crisis at the various state chapters of the party. How will all of this play out now in terms of, if you like, you know, fast forwarding the resolution of the disagreements amongst party members?
Well, I think quite a lot of things actually, you know, happened, you know, in the last couple of weeks. It was quite in order for the president to have assigned our leader, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to engage the stakeholders of the party, you know, across the country, to listen, to discuss with them, you know, with a view to appeasement and reconciliation on several, you know, issues, not only that of you know, party management or leadership. There are, of course, issues that relate to not only the party leadership, but issues of governance, issues of perception, and so on. So that was there. But also there were some interest within the party that, you know, as quite correctly captured by the National Public Secretary, who wanted some measure of stability, you know, for the party as we moving forward, you know, to preserve the, you know, whatever, you know, are the situations or the conditions to have some level of stability before the next elections. Regardless of all this, one thing that is very clear is that this party has leaders who are highly experienced, very patriotic, with the president who is, you know, is a statesman, and he is actually, even within this, you know, within this situation, within this context, you know, he has kept himself above the prey, and he is like a leader who is in, you know, in an advisory, you know, capacity, and he always calls, you know, people to order and so on. So all our leaders are highly experienced, and they're very patriotic, and they had a mission in coming to form this APC to stabilize the, you know, the polity, to promote democracy, and that was why actually they formed the APC, and they've also succeeded in ensuring that, you know, pushing for transparent elections, you know, accountable governance in the country. So these leaders know the particular reason they came to form this APC in 2003, 2013 and 2014, because the polity was very unstable.
Thanks a lot. We'll come back to you later on in the course of this conversation. Yeah. Now, let's bring in again Malam Bolaji Abdullahi. Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, if you were to take a look at the front pages of the papers this morning, as indeed they have been for several weeks, the impression appears to be that perhaps the national chairman of the party, that's Chief John Odige Oyegu, is a personification of the tension in the party. Is this necessarily the case?
Well, unfortunately, that's the impression you get, but that's not necessarily the case. You see, this issue is less about Oyegu than any other thing. It's not so much about Chief Oyegu. No, it's not so much about Chief Oyegu. It's not so much about the party chairman. I know that for a fact because I know the conversation I've been having with the chairman. But the chairman has a responsibility. He doesn't want to be the chairman under whose leadership, under whose watch the party unraveled. And that is why he's as concerned as everyone else. But when you read the impression, it gives the impression that it's a power tussle between Oyegun versus the rest. Oyegun doesn't want to go, Oyegun wants to hold on. No, not at all. You see, let me point out that the 36 state chairmen, 37 chairmen, now including FCT, even after yesterday's NEC meeting, met and still reaffirmed the earlier position of NEC. That is one side of it. The second side of it is that you are likely, if you look at the individual states, it is possible to discern where the state stands in terms of the relationship of the governor and the party chairman. You see some states where the chairman has problem with the governor, then such governor is likely to say, oh, I want a congress, so that I will have opportunity to put a new chairman. Where the chairman is in good stead with the governor, you are likely to find the governor to say, no, keep it. I want it to stay. But what we are saying is that under the current situation, if we call congresses today, there are some states where we're going to have at least 2-3 parallel congresses in view of the situation that we find ourselves. Now, we're saying that Mr. President has said, Ashwaju, lead the process of reconciliation. In those places where we have these issues, go in and bring party members round together. Now, while we are still at that, we cannot do worse than start calling for congresses in that context. That is the position of Chief Oyegun. That's the position of NEC. So it's not about Oyegun wanting to go or not wanting to go. Unfortunately, of course, it makes for good headlines to reduce it to Oyegun. But certainly it's not about Oyegun.
Okay, still continuing with you, the National Publicity Secretary. Looking at the executive-legislature relations, yes, it has not been the best, looking at the fact that most of the bills or most of the things the president will want passed, the budget, the election issues and all that are not receiving the expectation the expectation of the executive, as the case may be. And the president, in the NEC meeting of February, cited that as one of the reasons of not duly implementing some of his programs and policies. What is the party doing in that direction towards resolving this challenge?
Well, thank you. We were at the National Assembly a couple of days back to meet with the APC caucus in the Senate. And this issue came up. In fact, that was a major reason that took us to the National Assembly, which is to see how we can improve the relationship between between the National Assembly and the executive. That is the role that the party is meant to be playing. Because, look, the framers of our constitution, the intendment of a constitutional democracy, is that sufficient level of tension should exist between the executive and the legislature, and that is all the issues about checks and balances, because if you don't have such tension, then you probably don't have a genuine democracy. Now, so there is there's a level of benign tension that should be accommodated within a democracy, but there is a level that it gets to that you need to pull the plug to say, no, it can't go further than this because it endangers the system. So we in the party have a responsibility to continue to monitor what is going on. We also don't want to jump in too quickly because democracy must be allowed to thrive and to play out. So we wait and watch. Now, at the point that we felt that this is getting too far, we moved in. And it was a very good meeting we had with the National Assembly. The Senate caucus, we're still yet to be able to meet the House of Representatives caucus. Some decisions are coming up that is likely to create opportunity for us to meet more regularly, not just to be reactive when things happen, but the situation where the National Assembly leadership of APC, the executive and the party will have opportunity to meet more regularly so that these issues can be discussed and be resolved before they happen. So that's the kind of situation we're trying to create at the moment.
Okay, Bulama, I'm sure I want him to come in here because you're a member of the party, observe what is going on in terms of executive-legislature relations. What is your take on it?
Well, we are not quite scared, actually, or uncomfortable with what is playing out. As you rightly said, the inbuilt checks and balances in the Constitution for with regards to the relationship between the executive and the legislative arm.
How best do you think we can address that?
Well, there has to be some the frequency of engagement between the leadership of the party, as a mediator, and the executive and the legislative arm has to be intensified. There has to be more frequent engagements, more consultations before things are presented and things come to the fore for discussions. I think this, if it is done more frequently, more intensely, the delays, especially with regards to passage of certain bills or lack of understanding or position with regards to certain positions in bills and so on, would be reduced.
All right, thank you, Akita Bulama. Let's return to Malam Bolaji. Malam Bolaji, let's come back again also to the two items you had on your agenda for the NEC meeting, namely amendment of the party's constitution as well as the party's reaction to the Air Rufai Committee on restructuring. What were the resolutions, particularly with regard to restructuring, which has a knock-on effect on the amendment of the 1999 Constitution?
Well, the position on the restructuring at this point is that it's actually the first time that we have taken it that far. Now, what was decided is that a committee now that involves the National Assembly and the executive should be convened that will now take this final report and look at how we can move the process forward as quickly as possible. Because, like we said, we know that as we face the election, this is going to be an issue for us. So what NEC decided yesterday is that a committee should be set up between the National Assembly that will involve the National Assembly, who eventually act on the report, and the executive and of course and the party that instead the committee to look at the various areas and look at areas that can be implemented as quickly as possible.
All right. Well, let's have the opportunity now of reading viewers' reactions that have come in by way of tweets. Festus Akimboyewa has the first tweet that we are taking, and he writes, if the APC fails to listen to the president and continues to be in breach of its own constitution by the elongation of the tenure of the current ESCO, it will pay a heavy price in 2019.
Well, there is no name attached to this, but it says, replying to NTA GMN, once beaten, twice shy, we hope the APC party executive hits the PMB's position on tenure elongation. APC must be cautious with internal democracy because this is what led to the downfall of PDP. Any deviation from the constitutional provisions might endanger the party's fortunes.
Now, Shakiru has this tweet. In other democracies, party supremacy cannot be overemphasized. It's the embodiment of knowledge to oversee, control the executive and legislature. Now, the APC is, of course, in a big challenge.
Omoboloho Babs writes in, it's also important to mention here that the national chairman of the APC, Nigeria, has fared well, really. There were obvious cracks within the party across states and even within its national outlook. Nigerians didn't see such leadership process or prowess from Chief Oyegun to move for resolution.
Another one from Omobola Babs says, I believe there are lawyers within the party. They should have looked at the implication of the tenure of the members, that's to say the executive members, in juxtaposition with the party's constitution as well as the country's. It would have been a fiasco if the party had gone into elections with what it says such impunity.
Oh, well, I think we still have more.
Yeah, we have additional tweets that have come in. Let's just take those ones very quickly, in addition to what we've just read. I think just about 2 or 3 of them. Change to progress. Now, the problem with the approach adopted by the majority for extension is simply kicking the bucket down the road. NEC was aware that it had 4 years. Now, why did it wait until now to organize new elections? Ability to manage this agreement is what the present APC NEC has failed to muster, and they need new ideas from a new NEC. Is that necessarily the case?
Well, actually,
that should be a National Working Committee. I think it's mixing up the organs of the party.
Yes.
That's the NEC.
Well, actually,
there's a National Working Committee, and then there's a National Executive Committee of the party.
Now, from Cecilia Okoroma, it says that APC must follow due process and lead by example. No political party belongs to one individual, and every member is important.
Now, Victor Ohioswama tweets, the president may be right on the legality of the tenure elongation, but it is not politically expedient now to conduct elective congresses in an election year. It will breed conflict that will be difficult to resolve before the elections in July for Ekiti and September for Osun.
And from change to progress, Shitu here writes, APC NEC need to organize new elections. Party can't be afraid of organizing elections internally because of possible conflicts. Let the party have honest people to organize the progress, and perhaps most of them will come back to their polls. Let them follow Constitution to set example. And of course, that concludes our conversation here this morning. We had the input of Nigerians. We could have said, you make more input, but time is no longer our friend because we've all touched on it. I'd like to, on that note, say special thanks to the National Publicity Secretary of the ruling All Progressives Congress, Malam Bolaji Abdullahi, for being part of this conversation.
Thank you very much, my pleasure.
And of course, Architect Waziri Bolama will say special thanks for your perspective to this conversation.
Thank you very much.
Well, this is the Good Morning Nigeria. We're through with the first piece, and we'll be coming back to discuss the Danjuma statement in a moment.
Whenever pain occurs, you want quick relief. Try Nurofen Express. It goes to the source of pain and gets to work in under 15 minutes. That's why Nurofen Express delivers fast and effective relief. Nurofen Express works at the source of pain. Fast.
Being a mom is great, but when your child has a fever, you don't know what to do. I trust Nurofen for Children to take care of my child's pain and fever.
Effective relief you can trust.
Your perfect family is under threat by germs. Infectious diseases are now the world's biggest killer of adults and children. Every day, 16,000 children under the ages of 5 and thousands of adults die from infectious diseases. These infectious diseases are caused by germs. They are everywhere. An average human being comes in contact with over 1 million germs daily. In unclean water, dirty surfaces, in the toilet, on cuts and wounds, on your clothes. Germs can cause deadly diseases like typhoid, diarrhea, flu, and cough. To protect your family from germs, use the power of Dettol's 1 Cap Full for surface cleaning in your bathing water, in your laundry water, for first aid, to protect your family from up to 100 illness-causing germs. Be Dettol sure. Endorsed by the Nigerian Medical Association.
Registration is now open for state and sports clubs to participate with free accommodation and feeding for athletes and officials on the basis of first come, first served at the first National Grassroots Sports Festival, Sports for All, to discover sport talent, develop future world champions, and rejuvenate sports in Nigeria. Date 19th to 29th of April 2018. Venue National Stadium Abuja, packages A and B. This is an opportunity for state governors to mobilize supporters and fans for their state through broadcast sponsorship and for companies to promote their brand. For broadcast sponsorship, contact Angelo Peter I. Elosia, Chairman and Chief Coordinator, or Nick Onyisi. Organizers, Grassroots International Sports Academy and LOP Worldwide Television. And endorsed by the Federal Ministry of Youth and Sports Development, broadcast partner NTA, the largest television network in Africa.
Enjoy fruity goodness for every occasion with Five Alive, now in new flavors and varieties.
But if you just joined us, it's Good Morning Nigeria. We are reaching you live on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We are moving on now to take on our second item for discussion this morning. Now, last weekend, General T.Y. Danjuma, retired Chief of Army Staff, one-time Minister of Defense, senior citizen, issued a statement, or made a statement at Taraba State University, calling on Nigerians who were being attacked by herdsmen and other bandits to defend themselves, also claiming that the military appeared to look the other way when the attackers arrived at the various communities. Now, his statement has generated quite some reactions, and this morning we're having two guests with us in the studios to elaborate further on this. First, at this time, would like to welcome Brigadier General John Agim, who is Director of Defense Information. Brigadier General John Agim, pleasure to have you on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you for having me.
All right.
We also have in the studio the man who is popularly known as IBM Haruna, Ibrahim Bata Magui Haruna, retired general, lawyer, and elder statesman. It's a pleasure to have you join us.
Good morning.
Well, I think we commence this conversation. Let's start from General Agim. How do you feel about the allegation by Danjuma, looking at his indictment of the military in the all the security issues or conflicts that is taking place between herdsmen and other bandits in various states?
Well, I feel that the allegation is unfortunate, especially coming from a very respected retired senior military officer. And I would say that it's not true. If he had said that there was a problem in Taraba State where some officers were found to be culpable, the military will still take it up. But where he said that the whole country, the armed forces are colluding, then that cannot be true.
Oh, well. General Haruna, I'm sure you had the comments of General Danjuma. You were in the force, and for over 21 years now, you've left that position as a senior citizen of this country. What is your take in all this?
Well, my take is simply, it is an unfortunate statement and unexpected. I'm a retired general with 41 years standing in retirement. And I also served as general officer commanding the Civil War Front in Onitsha. When I reflect on his statement, I say it is deeply regrettable and unfortunate because it can lead to anarchy and revolution in the sense that it is in a way instigating. We are in an asymmetric war. The present commander-in-chief has undefined fronts. When we fought the Civil War, every general had his territory, had a front. We used to have, in conventional war, the front edge of the battle area. There is no front edge in this present battle area. Everywhere there is warfare. The Northeast, Yobe, Borno, Benue, Taraba, there are rashes of it all over the place, to which the military has been called to respond and they are not responding in a state of warfare. We are in a state where there is democracy, civil order still persists, and therefore they are aiding the civil power. And when you are aiding the civil power and you have rushes for dispersing your forces, you become very thin on the ground. And if you reflect that the indictment can lead to a small revolt that can become a big fire. If you recall, the Russian Revolution started by soldiers in the war front not having bread. The French one started because the queen there said, if they can't have bread, give them a cake. And in recent times, the Arab Spring started with a small man selling petty things, and it was seized. He burnt himself. That gave the firing spring to the revolution. Now, I really think, prospectively or speculatively, what if, in response to Danjuma's statement, that everyone now defies the law of entitlement to carry arms and carries his arm to fight, and if the soldiers now say, okay, if we are the ones conspiring and leading this asymmetric warfare, we might as well take initiative other than the initiative that is reserved in an emergency in the civil authority. If they start to withdraw, they can be challenged by the general armed populace. Then what will happen to order and peace? I think I deeply regret that such a statement will be made by a soldier of those high standing who have access to all the authorities. And if he has evidence, maybe it should be made public. But the statements, to me, lacks convincing evidence. And therefore, I regard it as unfortunate.
All right, General IBM Haruna, thank you very much for your comments. But you're also a lawyer, and I'm sure you must have also read comments by some other lawyers who are saying that in the light of some of the wanton killings that we have seen in different parts of the country, a call to self-defense is justifiable under the law.
Self-defense is always justifiable under the law. It's conventional. You are entitled to self-defense. But beyond that, you are not entitled to carry arms if you do not satisfy the conditions under which you can carry arms. So to call for free carriage of arms is like in America, where they are now struggling with the free carriage of arms that leads to young men going to kill children in school. There is a law that entitles you to self-defense.
All right, thanks a lot. Let's bring in again the the Director of Defense Information. One of the points that General IBM Haruna indicated, and which is fairly obvious, because you're having all kinds of operations being undertaken by the military, whether it's Python dance, or Crocodile Smile, or Akbatuma, as we're having in parts of the Middle Belt. The impression seems to be created that the armed forces are overstretched, in quelling, as it were, or dealing with matters that ordinarily, the civil policing authorities should be handling. Is that necessarily the situation?
Yes, as of this moment, we have over 31 states that the military is operating, having internal security. And as a matter of fact, the armed forces obviously overstretched. And that is why, in that kind of situation where we have our men paying the supreme price in the course of their duty, instead of appreciating the effort, somebody outrightly condemned the contribution. Just like my highly respected senior colleague have said, it ought not to be. Because at this moment, what we have been talking about is with all this we are doing, we don't really get appreciation from the citizen. We don't have people coming out to say, oh, the military, you have been doing well. We appreciate you for maintaining peace and security. And these are human beings. It's not good enough. Being overstretched is not the issue because we continue to introduce new operations to check specific problems. And if we have not been doing that, as of this moment, there will have been anarchy, especially when people are introducing politics in security. And of course, the military, we don't have, there's no alternative to the military. There's no alternative. The sophistication of the kind of crisis we have now, it's not like before. In this crisis, we have our men being killed. So we don't have a situation where maybe the military enter into a place, the criminals are running away. They fight back. So if you look at it, I think, I don't know, maybe we are not communicating enough to tell our people what is going on for them to actually appreciate what we are doing.
Okay. Sorry, what is going on?
What is going on, you have already said it. We have to start an exercise, which of course is an operation in 7 states within the Middle Belt. We have to go through all the states, all the regions in the country to see how we conduct exercise that can check criminality. And we see the military everywhere. And I know that in some states in this country, if the people wake up in the morning to hear that the military have withdrawn from the streets, they will leave.
Okay. Thank you, General Agim. Let's come back to General IBM Haruna. Let's have your assessment of the situation, military operations in various states. I'm sure you followed the trend. You mentioned some of the states, Benue, Taraba, and the conflict areas, and the number of lives lost. Against the background of the comment of Danjuma and 2 former heads of state, talk of OBJ, Obasanjo, and IBB, Ibrahim Babangida. And also the report of the Transparency International in that direction, you know, putting question mark on the operations, essentially as it concerns our military. What is the assessment?
Yes, Amnesty International.
Amnesty International, sorry.
Well, before I delve into assessment, which I think I'm really not competent to assess, based on the informations that are disseminated only through the media. To truly assess, you must know the state of affairs. And I think that firstly, we have to distinguish between effective operation from what we used to call flag march. You flag march to demonstrate to the people that you are competent, you are powerful, you can cope, and to demonstrate that your forces are trained. Most of these flag marching exercises are also called operation. Strictly speaking, they are not operations. The instant effective operations are those who are employed to check the threat to which the military is applied in cooperation with the civil authority. But the two are mixed together. They compound the impact of psychological understanding of the state of affairs of the military. In assessing what to me is based on media, journalist report, one will say that the military operatively are dispersed because the challenges to the civil authority under a democracy is also far dispersed. In all these geographical areas, you have governors in control, you have their communication intelligence network from the grassroots to the highest authority. Movement of troops, for example, has to follow the operational command chain. Now, the operational command chain in the hierarchy of the military is quite different from operational command chain with the civil authority to the military command chain. So there is a gap. There's a vacuum. Because when you think about how can a truly posted military operation with specific orders be withdrawn? Yes, the commander, the military commander, knows what task he is to meet. But he has an overall commander who decides where the disposition and the number of troops should go for specific operation. So in this case, you have the herdsmen challenge and the farmers spread all over the place for different reasons. And you have in some places challenges of genocide. You have those of Boko Haram. You have those of migrant arms herdsmen. Now, I imagine that if the army in particular has to respond to all this, they are either on their own or they are reinforcing the police, or they are reinforcing the basic security architecture, say, in the state with various civil defense forces and so on. I think for the military itself, one can imagine that if they have to face the Boko Haram, they have to face genocide in Taraba, herdsmen in Benue, Zamfara, and all this, one will imagine, I imagine that they are so well dispersed and perhaps thin on the ground. But one of the difficulties here is that when you are so dispersed, you have no recruitment plan like we had during the Civil War. You continue to recruit because you have high replacement of forces due to casualties and the expanding war front. In this case, there is no consistent reinforcement of manpower and resources, and the economy is not supporting it. So there is a constraint. All these are not explained, but we know the general conditions that affect the capacity to execute a war.
All right, so I'm just wondering, let's take some tweets in the meantime before we pop another question to General IBM Haruna. Dele Jack Solomon has this tweet. Now, he tweets that his home state, I think is referring to General Danjuma here, which is Taraba, and other parts of Nigeria have been affected. Nevertheless, we implore our elder statesmen to keep playing the big roles of promoting peaceful and peace and justice in all states of the country.
And a tweet from Change to Progress says, retired T.Y. Danjuma statement was unfortunate and terrible. Many military and police personnel have been killed in these conflicts. 12 soldiers will be buried today in Kaduna, and all the security agencies will get from their former colleagues that they are supporting herdsmen. It is sad.
This is from Victor Oyoswama. The allegations made by General Danjuma should be investigated. I agree that the whole armed forces cannot be guilty, but there may be some soldiers in the field that are not doing their jobs properly.
Okay. Kingsley, I was going to ask General, you see, we have elder statesmen who have served this nation in the military, like people of your caliber, and we have a good number of them, and we have those in military hierarchy currently. What is the relationship between these retired top military officers and the current people serving? Do you have any interchange of ideas, any forum to interact and exchange ideas on developments relating to security?
Well, institutionally, I think that there is no formal organization for either intellectual or development contribution. But there is right now an association of retired officers, which to me impresses me as a welfare or trade union organization for seeking to influence the pension administration and things like that. But I think I will say there is no formal forum. As a general, yes, I've been chairman of the Institute of International Affairs. I've been chairman of NIPS for 2 consecutive times. There's forum to relate on these courses if you are invited either to give a lecture or as head of the institution, you're more concerned with the administration of the institution, not the intellectual content. Okay. But to answer your question, I don't think in my 41 years of retirement, I've attended any military institutional discussion that draws or finds inspiration from the retired generals. I don't know if it's been done behind my back, but I can speak for myself.
Yeah, it's also possible, General IBM Haruna, perhaps maybe one of the fora they use could be the alumni association, say the Defense College, where they gather from time to time. But that's one other point to pursue is as follows. I mean, your good self, General T.Y. Danjuma himself, former President Olusegun Obasanjo, incumbent President Muhammadu Buhari. In a sense, I mean, you all interacted in the course of your military career. A channel of communication amongst elder statesmen, for instance. It's one of the points that some persons have been concerned about. Why would a senior citizen choose, as it were, the open forum of a convocation or a matriculation speech to say the kind of things he said? Is there a sense that he doesn't have access? Or perhaps it's out of exasperation?
What I reflect on this, what I would say is that if you recall, the military hierarchy itself, the leadership of officers had been fragmented on the basis of political inclination. You have had coups where generals have overturned other generals to make head of states, or lots of officers denied their life on allegations of coup. So the surviving cream, let's say, between them, there is this fragmentation which has continued because of the political background and experiences of the army institution. I think that since they assumed the mantle of leadership, it's been very difficult for them to reconcile themselves in terms of a coherent military influence, or to reconcile themselves in terms of relationship with the political elite class that are leading. So I think that that fragmentation, which has killed esprit de corps and other goodwill relationship, has continued on the political plane.
Okay, I think maybe we'll have the comments of General Agim. You've had the comments of IBM Haruna on the need, to benefit from the experience of those that have sacrificed and served the nation in that capacity, because we have the military-civil relations, where you try to have a synergy for the civilians to have a better understanding of the operations of the military. And in conflicts of this nature, you mentioned of the presence of the military in about 31 states. I know the Chief of Staff said 32 states. How can we, is it out of place to tap into the experience?
No, it's not out of place. But if the military hierarchy will utilize the experience of people in caliber of General Haruna, it is not something that is for the general military consumption. because these are people that there is no serving service chiefs now or commanders that will not have special regard for a senior officer like this. When we met outside before coming, he introduced himself. I said, so I've heard so much about you, I've not met you. So if they are going to make use of their wealth of experience, it's not going to be something that is public. It has to be specific to the service chiefs. But I think generally most of the senior military officers are always invited around to share their experience and give lectures where we tap from their wealth of experience. But like he said, if there are supposed to be a forum where some of them would have come in, maybe as a group, I don't know about that.
All right, so still with you, Brigadier General, again. There were reports published also in the media about complaints by some of the residents, say in Taraba, that they had made reports of either impending or actual attacks, but that the response from the security agencies was either slow in coming or didn't come at all, or that they said they had orders, not to engage in hot pursuit or to repel whoever the attackers or assailants were. And earlier you were saying that if General Tiwa was talking about, say, localized instances, say in the state Taraba rather than the entire federation, perhaps it might have been different. You want to elaborate on that?
I read about those reports. When a military unit is operating in your environment, all you need to do is get access to maybe the commander who is in that place, and if you fear that there is security threats, you let the person know. Because like most time when, like what General Haruna was talking about, when you get into a state, the state is fairly large. So if you are operating in a particular place and there are issues in another place, you have to be informed before you know that you have to move over to that place. Now, after those issues we are talking about, we started reading about them after General Tiwa Danjuma made a speech on Saturday. So people are saying from that place, oh, this is what has been happening. If those issues were raised before now, they can check the commanders who are working, who are deploying those areas to see what is happening, that there is outrage. But there was nothing before this time.
Okay. I think, Kingsley, we go to more tweets from Nigerians.
That's right.
Pouring in. From Haruna Isiak, says, military can never bring peace in an area where the people of the area are not willing to stay in peace with one another.
And Cecilia Okoroma has this tweet. Now, this is a world of technology. Words and actions spread like wildfire. We must talk and act with great wisdom.
And Free Joe writes, good morning, presenter. I am Freeman. Danjuma call for citizens to defend themselves is not a good call, but let the army protect Nigerians and not to be partisan.
All right, those are the tweets that we're taking. General IBM Haruna, I mean, you've been around. I'm not quite sure what your age is now, but obviously you are in late 70s or early 80s.
78.
78. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations, General IBM. There's a street named after you somewhere in Utako, I believe,
yes,
right here in the Federal Capital Territory. Let's take a look at this. What kind of assurance can citizens take away from what's happening? Because virtually every day, or at least every week, there are reports of killings, all kinds of conflict, whether it's in Zamfara, Kaduna State, in Jos or Plateau, in the Niger Delta, in different parts, Taraba, everywhere, virtually everywhere in the country. And that's why you have 31 or 32 states, under military patrol, as it were. What do we need to do to stem the bloodletting?
Well, I think we have to clear the fallacies embedded in our philosophy and attitude to the Nigerian state. What people are saying restructuring is perhaps physical restructuring, political, administrative restructuring. But whatever it is, our commitment to the focus of a philosophy that sustains Nigeria as a sovereign entity is very diverse as we are diverse. But the political leaders and the political parties in a democracy are supposed to centralize the focus, sell their selling points, and get legitimate validation through the votes. Now, when the structure is false, the commitments of the leaders to the philosophy of the Nigerian state is as diverse and in most cases no real commitment, then this underlines the opening for criminal activities to take advantage of the weaknesses in the system.
Well, I think we'll come to General Agim now for your parting words. Looking at the actions and inactions of some elder statesmen and these implications on the citizenry, what do you expect from the two divides? What cooperation do you expect from Nigerians, and how do you think senior citizens should conduct themselves in such circumstance?
Well, for the Nigerian army, we are not... Our Nigerian military were not distracted by that statement. In fact, what it called for is that there is no alternative to the military in maintaining peace and security. So the military will continue to do their work. If there is any problem in any states where the military is deployed, citizens should try and get across to those military deployed in those areas. And they should try and also give them information about what is happening. The citizen has the right to inform the security agent of what is happening so that they can act promptly. And for our elder statement, well, the reaction that come after that statement, I think every other person is going to have a rethink. The burden of a senior citizen is such that you cannot go back to be talk from a local perspective because you have always been there.
All right, General John Agim, Director of Defense Information, would like to appreciate you for being on the program this morning. But I just, want just to stress one point, where you had earlier indicated that there appears to be no popular appreciation of the role and sacrifices of the military. I think that there are a number of groups and platforms that indeed do appreciate what the military is doing. Sometimes your colleagues pay the supreme prize for the roles that they are playing. And without, of course, the military, perhaps it would have been quite clearly a different situation. Just last week, we had on the program, Major General Rogers Nicholas, who is the theater commander at Operation Lafayette Adole. He joined us from Maiduguri, and we did say this, of course, it was on the heels of the release of the Dapchi schoolgirls who were abducted. And you do know, of course, that General Rogers Nicholas was formerly also in charge of military-civilian relations. He always came here. So the Nigerian people indeed do appreciate the sacrifices of the military personnel. Once again, Brigadier General John Agim, Director of Defense Information, thanks a lot for being on the program this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Our appreciation also to senior citizen, lawyer, retired General IBM Haruna. Thanks a lot for being on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
All right, all right. So that does it for our second topic for conversation. Let's go very quickly now to our companion segments. And it's sports. Pretty bad news out of London yesterday for Super Eagles, but all hope not lost.
Still a chance here for Serbia. Kostic with a cross, and there's the finish from Alexander.
Alessandro Mitrovic scored twice as Serbia defeated Nigeria 2-0 in an international friendly played in London on Tuesday night. The first half ended goalless as Mitrovic swept home a cross in the 68th minute to give his side the lead and produced a similar finish with 10 minutes left to make it 2-0. It was Super Eagles' second friendly in 4 days, following the 1-0 victory over Poland last Friday. In the other Tuesday's international friendlies, Gabriel Jesus scored the only goal of the game as Brazil edged past Germany 1-0, who lost for the first time in 23 matches. France bounced back from their disappointing 3-0 home win to Colombia in Friday's friendly, with a 3-1 win against host of the 2018 World Cup, Russia in St. Petersburg. In the meantime, UEFA has